exactly 16 after 9 o'clock. Welcome back. News and views right here on Salam Media. My name is Julie Ali, and our next guest is Nico de Jager. He is the DA Gauteng Spokesperson for Infrastructure Development. A very good morning to you, Nico. Welcome to the program. And I am so sorry we can't get a picture of you for the interview this morning.
That's good. Thank you very much, Julie, and also good morning to all your listeners.
Okay, a worrying situation here. I mean, this is something we, as a province or a community, can't afford. And that is the concerns being raised by the DA about a 300 million rand school, a special needs school in Lyndhurst that may be demolished and taxpayers' money being wasted. You are very concerned about this, and so should we all be concerned. Just put us in the picture here, Nico. Has the school been built already, or is it still in construction phase? What is the story with this special needs school?
Yeah, it is indeed the real worry for us, Julie. This is a school where they started working on this project in 2015, but they've never submitted a building plan. They also never did the necessary environmental impact studies. So there is a geotechnical study that needs to be done when a school is in such close proximity to water, for rising damp, etc. They completed the project, and according to the officers or the department officials, they've submitted a building plan in 2021. Now that in itself is flawed. Due diligence was not followed. So when I then asked for a copy of the invoice to prove that they submitted the building plan, 3 weeks later, they still cannot produce such a copy. They also can't produce a copy of the temporary occupancy certificate, while a part of the school is already occupied by students. Now, this in itself is a real worry. It's the lives of children are at risk, and also their education is at risk, because these are all children who are already at a disadvantage, and now we're putting them at a further disadvantage and the risk at a school being demolished if the necessary building plans approvals cannot be obtained.
Okay, so Nico, let's understand whom are we holding accountable here? Is it the Infrastructure Development and Property Management Department? And I do
Absolutely.
know that Tasneem Motara, the MEC, heads up this division. What is
Yes.
she saying? Or is this a historical problem that she's inherited? And I'm
Well,
just wondering, why has there been such sloppy work that was obviously undertaken in the first place? Plans not submitted, plans not approved, due diligence not being followed through. Let's talk about all of these very, very serious matters.
yeah, clearly it is a problem for us. I raised this with the MEC, Tasneem Mutara. She unfortunately only has the information that the officials would give her, which is quite sad. But we raised this concern. Unfortunately, it's also a problem that she's inherited. But that's part of the course. You take over the good and you take over the bad. We did raise this concern. And I think it is a general attitude of all government departments, even within the city council, that they do not always follow due diligence. And that unfortunately impacts on the department's ability to then execute what it is supposed to do in terms of approving building plans, etc. And where a building plan is not approved, and especially where, in this case, where there is issues with rising damp and the water table, etc., a demolition will be issued, and a 300 million rand project will be reduced to rubble.
And that's all unnecessary wastage, something we as a province cannot afford, or even this could have been a school in any part of the country. We
That,
can't afford this. The money could be better utilized in so very many different ways. Uh, but you
absolutely.
know what I'm also deeply concerned about is that this is taxpayers' money on the one hand. On the other hand, we are talking about the neediest of the needy. We're talking about children with special needs. Uh, there
Absolutely.
aren't enough such facilities, never mind in our province, but in the rest of the country. How on earth are we going to afford that a school like this is demolished? Where is the additional funds going to come from to put up a school to house these children? Just imagine the hardship for the children and their parents as well. So, your thoughts, Nico?
Absolutely, Julie. And what makes it even worse for me is that this is a school that makes provision for dormitories. So they've got a dormitory for children to live there, and that dormitory cannot be occupied at all. It's the project, from what I understand, was completed in 2017, 2018, and the part of the premises being the dormitory, the school hall, the swimming pool, none of it can be utilized at this point in time. And from the department side, the actual school facility is occupied with a temporary occupancy certificate. Now, I did my own little research with the Department of Development Planning, and they could not find any trace of a temporary occupancy certificate or a building plan being submitted, which is a real worry, which means that you're putting the lives of children at risk. Parents are now going to travel extra kilometers, and then especially in a time like this where we cannot afford for either our children to be put at risk or parents to incur additional costs. It's just really unfair, and it is such an unfortunate thing that this is happening.
So we need to find out how we, I mean, what are the thoughts? What's the thinking regarding a way forward? Let's just hold onto that thought for a minute. You are the spokesperson for infrastructure development in Gauteng.
Yeah.
I was always under the impression that when a structure goes up, however big or however small, due
Mm.
diligence has to be followed. And my understanding is also that inspectors are on the site, most of the time checking that due diligence is followed. How
Yeah.
come this hasn't happened? Whom do we hold accountable?
In this case, it is the project management team, which unfortunately falls within the Department of Infrastructure Development. It is their duty. They have project managers, should have project managers that will then be responsible for following the processes, which in this case clearly has not happened. And it is not an isolated case, I might tell you. This is happening continuously in every single opportunity that we have as a committee. We raise the fact that due diligence is not followed, that project management is very poor in the city, or rather in the province, and we need to nip this in the bud as soon as possible. It is taxpayers' money, and it is the lives of children that's at risk.
And what you are saying is that this is not an isolated incident, which indicates that we're sitting with a huge problem. Either the project managers are not qualified enough, or it might once again be a situation of bribery and corruption.
There's not, in this case, it's not even a matter of bribery and corruption on the part of the city, because the city, I believe that they, for the most of it, the building control officer, etc., are generally very well qualified, and I've got faith in the systems of the city. As you know, where I come from,
Mhm.
I've always had faith in a lot of people in the city. It is unfortunately with the departments taking chances, not doing, and then coming afterwards to correct their mistakes, which cannot continue. We have a processes that we should follow, and as government, we are not exempt from following those processes.
So how does the city or the province move forward on this specific matter, because this has come to light, obviously.
Yeah.
You have indicated there's many other such situations as well. But in this specific scenario, we're talking 300,000 rands, but we're also
300 million.
talking, pardon, 300 million, but we're also talking about the futures of the neediest of the needy children. They need this facility, and there's no ways that that amount of money can be wasted by demolishing the structure altogether. Can it be salvaged? Can it be saved? Can something be done?
Well, it can be. I believe it can be salvaged if they follow the processes that's at hand. So they need to do a geotechnical study on the um, on the soil and whether it can be used for this. If they can get that approval and they do the necessary work around the dam, um, the damping issue, and they do rework the stormwater drainage, a part of it can be salvaged, but I do think it is going to be very costly, and everything that could have been avoided had they followed the correct processes, had they gotten the building plans approved prior to them breaking ground and not 7 years later. So now it becomes quite costly to correct it if they can correct it. But I can assure you, if they cannot get the go ahead in terms of the soil, and whether it's fit for building, then there will be a demolition order issued on this structure.
Nico, in a situation like this, we do need to see heads rolling. It is totally unacceptable
Mm.
that such a situation was allowed to get to the point where it is now. Uh, are there different, your department, for example, and other role players, do
Mm.
you guys work hard at uh, making people accountable? You have to, because if you don't, it's just us taxpayers who are having to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into our pockets.
We did, Julie, we did, as the DA, we did bring a motion to the legislature to ask the Premier to, first of all, disband or get rid of this department, who are not doing what they are supposed to be doing. And we've seen that in the health sector and education sector, where the health department and education department are taking over some of their own projects, because DID, a department that's set up to deal with these projects, cannot deliver. The fire at Charlotte Mseke, for instance, no work to date has been done from the Department of Infrastructure Development on any of the refurbishment of the fire incident, or on the fire that happened at Charlotte. So the only work that's happened from private sector, solidarity fund, etc. No other work has been done, and there are a number of such projects where we are deeply concerned. We've asked for the department to be demolished or to be taken out of the equation, to be disbanded. And also the MEC must take responsibility. We've raised this on several occasions. We brought a motion to the House, which was denied. The Premier himself acknowledged that this department is not working, and yet the department is still there. So we need to undo the bad, get rid of the rotten apples, and then see how we can salvage the situation.
My final question, Nico. Obviously, you are calling for the disbanding of the DID. I should imagine it's a large enough department. Once, hopefully, you get it right, they disband or just do away with that department completely. Is it not going to cause a strain, a huge strain on departments such as yours? And would you find, how are you going to ensure that you get the right people to carry out this work, or will it be up to the different departments to then
Mm.
undertake and oversee their own projects going forward?
In the past, this used to be the Public Works Department. So when they came up with a new name, a lot of the packaged it differently. A lot of the even properties went missing. There's no real asset register on properties, for
Sure.
instance. So there's a lot of disjuncture that happened, and that there's something that it can be saved. It can be saved, but it needs political will and it needs leadership. It is just ridiculous to have a department that is not taking responsibility for what it is there for, and that is the building of infrastructure. You cannot say, oh, we must outsource. Why do you have a department like that if you want to outsource? It is this department is set up to deal with issues, programs or projects for health, project for education, project for transport, and those departments all taken over their own responsibility. So, what is the role of a department like this if they cannot manage their own projects?
And I'm sure those departments are obviously delivering on all of the projects that they've overtaken. And if it's working well with a few departments, why can't it work well right across the board? This is a very scary story, Nico. And, I do hope that you're going to follow these stories very, very keenly. And please keep us updated, particularly this one, this school for special needs children at a cost of 300 million rands. Thank you
Absolutely.
indeed. And I really appreciate when we have councillors that, and spokespeople like yourself that raise these issues and hold people accountable for messing up and allowing the rot to go so very deep. Nico de Jager, DA Gauteng Spokesperson for Infrastructure Development. Thank you once again for your time.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you to your listeners.
9:33 News and Views on Salam Media.